Hey all, today I'm going to show you the basics of Cursor. It's an AI-powered IDE platform that allows you to boost your productivity and basically enhance your workflow. So real quick, when you open up Cursor, the IDE here, you're going to go to your settings. Up here in the top right, you'll see that gear icon. And this will bring up your subscription, which you can use a free trial. You can import your VS Code settings, so your extensions, your settings, your key bindings if you're coming from VS Code. And this is where it starts getting interesting. You've got rules for AI. So if you know, a lot of the time back in the day when ChatGPT first came out, people are coding with it. They're telling the AI, hey, you're a software engineer, you're specialized in Python, Flask, all this stuff. If you don't know something, tell me, don't make stuff up. Things like that. They're giving all these parameters. You can do that straight here in the rules for AI, and this persists across all projects. Now, let's say you have a couple different projects and you want your AI to behave differently. You can do that here in the Cursor rules. So you can create a .cursor rules file and then just kind of do that same thing for each project, and it'll be project specific. So that's super cool and super useful. There's models. So obviously the benefit of using Cursor instead of like GitHub Copilot and VS Code is you get access to all these LLMs. So you've got Claude 3.5 Sonnet, you've got DeepSeek, GPT-4o, o1 Mini, all these different things, and you can just check them on and off and select which ones you want to use in Cursor. You also have your API keys, which I don't need any right now. I am just using the pro version of Cursor, and I pretty much get unlimited everything I need. You can plug in your Azure API key. Features, there's a lot of different features you can turn on and off as you use Cursor. You'll figure those out, and then there's some cool beta features. So that's the basics on the settings. Next is, how does this work? Well, much like other IDEs, you've got your files in the top left, and you can just right-click, and I can create a test.html file, and there we do. There we have it. We've got a file. You can click the magnifying glass, and you can iterate and search through files. And you can also replace words. So let's say you have a variable across 10 files and you want to rename that variable on all files. You can do that here, really easy. You've got source control. So if you want to use GitLab, you can push and pull to a repo just so you have good source control on your code. And then you've got your extensions. And there's also recommended extensions down here, pretty much just like VS Code. Outside of that, what makes Cursor special? Well, first off is the autocomplete. So let's just say we want to make a hello world file. I'll start with the heading. So I'll type H1. And as you can see, it already knows I want to do hello world. Why? Because that's super common, right? A lot of people do that. So I can autocomplete it by hitting tab. So it's got code autocomplete. And it looks like a lot of people do a lot of like different paragraphs and things like that saying this is a test. So if I wanted to do that, I could hit tab and it'll do it again. Now, if I don't want to do that, I just hit enter and just keep coding like normal. That's how autocomplete works with code, which is pretty cool, but this goes a step further. So let's say I want to do something that a lot of people don't do. Obviously, it's not going to know how to autocomplete it. Well, if I want to prompt something in the file, I can hit Control K, and this brings up a prompt window. And here I can select the LLM. So I'm going to use GPT-4o for this, this tutorial. And let's say I want to create a subscribe button. So I can just tell it to create a subscribe button. I can hit enter. And much like you see in Git, the changes are highlighted in green. I haven't accepted this code yet. I can accept it here or reject it, or I can do it over here on the right side. So as you can see, it created a subscribe button. I can also give it follow-up instructions. So let's make the button yellow and the text green. So we're going to give it two commands here essentially in one. So it made the style yellow, and you can actually just change the style or the color here, and the text color green. Now if I wanted to say, let's make the button rounded, it'll go ahead and do that. It'll give a border radius of 12 pixels. Boom, it's rounded. I'm going to go ahead and accept these changes, and there we have it. We have a yellow subscribe button with green font or green text and a rounded border. So that's pretty cool. But let's say you have a lot of different files, or you want to touch a lot of different files at once. The prompting is not the way to do this. This is just for, adding things into a specific file like I just shown you. So if you want, you can go to the top right next to the gear icon, and you can open up the AI panel. Now the AI panel has a chat, a composer, and a bug finder. Our main focus today is on the chat and the composer. So the main The main way most people use chat, including myself, is if I want to understand some code, or maybe I'm creating a product or feature and I want to get some ideas about it, you could chat with it here. And it's got an add context button. So for this instance, it's going to be our test.html file, and you can add multiple files. So if I have like a lot of different things like communicating with each other or relying on each other, right, dependencies, you can add all that context here and it'll tell you how it works. So what I'm going to do is just tell me how this code works. And this chat's going to come in and just tell me the style, the background color is yellow, the color green, the border radius, and give me all the specifics there. And then you can keep typing and chatting with it. And as you can see, didn't mean to resubmit that. You can use different LLM models, or if you don't want to go through and add all the context, you can just hit code base and it'll go through your whole code base and kind of chat with you that way. So it's really cool. You can also highlight something. So let's just say I want to chat about this header here. I can hit Control L and it'll add just that line. So if I just want to ask it something about that line and I don't want to get things kind of crazy, I just want to be really specific, you can do that too. The next thing is the composer, and this is really what drives Cursor. This is what most people rant and rave about. So Composer allows you to edit multiple files at once, and it's got a normal mode and an agent mode. And the main difference is the agent mode, you don't need to add context. It's going to iterate through like most of your code base already, and it can run commands on your command line, and it really is like the next level. So if you want it to have like total control, just full speed ahead, you can go with agent mode. And this is what most people start with in their projects. And then if you want to fine tune it, kind of narrow down some stuff, you don't want to change all the files, you want to be kind of more specific and have more control, normal mode's the way to go. You can give it more commands. It'll ask you kind of what more to do. You can add context and things like that. So that's really cool. Now, normally, let's go ahead and delete this file. If I were to create a Python Flask application, I'd have to go through, I'd have to create the templates, I'd have to create the HTML files, I'd have to create the app file and things like that. So it'd take me a little bit of time in getting the structure down. Let's use agent mode. We're going to use GPT-4o, and let's create, or let's say create me a Python Flask application. It should have an index page and dashboard page. So we're just going to keep it super simple, hit submit, and it's going to start telling me what it's going to do, and it's going to start doing it. So it's going to set up the Flask application, create the HTML templates, and then organize the project structure. So as you can see, it's already doing things. You can see the green code, which we do have to accept. So that's the good thing about this. If you want to like run different commands and kind of see what it's going to do, you don't have to accept all the changes. So it's going through here. It's creating an index file, a dashboard file. It's got the app.py. We've got our templates folder, and it's already completed. So all I have to do is I can either go in and I can hit accept here, reject, or in the bottom right, which I'm going to hide myself. There I am. You can see accept all or reject all. So we're going to go ahead and hit accept, and we have accepted all the changes. And it'll even tell you how to run this application. So running the application, all you've got to do is hit python app.py and you're good to go. So if I type Python app.py, it's going to start running this Flask server. And as you can see, it's running successfully. We can check our app file. We've got our routes. So for our index and our dashboard page, and you can see those here, and our application is running. So you can open this up in the browser, but I'm going to do this just to show you something else cool with Cursor. You can actually just open this up in Cursor, the IDE itself. So what you can do is you can hit Control-Shift-P, as in potato, and you can hit simple browser show, and then you can enter the HTTP address. So there we go. Welcome to the index page, and then it's even got a link, the dashboard page, so it's already linked up as you can see here. And you can you can split the window, you can look at code, you can use you can do all different kinds of cool things. So super powerful. That's the best way to get started. There's also a bug finder. It's pretty heavy on compute. It's an experimental beta feature, and it analyzes code changes between the current branch and the main branch in the Git remote repo. So that's what that does. We're not going to cover that in this section, but another cool thing before we go, let's say you're generating code. Let me close out some of these. There we go. So let's say you've generated your app file and you don't want the index or the dashboard file. What you can do is restore from a checkpoint, and this gets rid of everything below it. Much like a video game, Cursor has checkpoints when you're composing, so that's super helpful. You can also have it, iterate through your code base, make changes, refactor code. It's got a lot of really cool use cases, and that's the best way to get started with Cursor.